Tyler, I want to start with this one piece that I saw on your page and trying to compartmentalize everything and put it together to better my life and better the audience's life. In your story, you worked in a traditional W-2, from my understanding, like a finance type job. And at one point, you took the leap of faith to do something entirely different. I kind of just want to see and visualize the day that you made that decision or the week leading up to that decision.
Bro, that's a great question, and yeah, so I'll never forget it, honestly. So I was working running a physical branch of Chase Bank. So I had like a staff of 14 people under me. I'd kind of run the day to day, run meetings, coach up bankers, things like that. It wasn't a bad job, to be honest. Like the pay was okay, the benefits were good. But the day that changed it all for me, man, is I had a 2.5-year-old daughter, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. I had to run some meetings early in the morning and then at night too. And so she's only been awake for like 15 minutes and I'm in my shirt and tie and suit coat and I go up to give her a hug. Oh, I love you so much. Kiss her and mommy bye. And she just clings to my leg and she says, "Daddy, how long will you be gone?" I'm like, "Bro, I had to tell her the truth. Like, I'm going to be back like 30 minutes before your bedtime tonight after the commute and after the day. So I'm like, I got 15 minutes in the morning. I got 30 minutes tonight. And it just like, dude, I mean, I remember kissing her and hugging her and being like, this can't be life. Like, this doesn't seem like, dude, I'm going in, I'm watching the clock tick my life away. I'm missing my kid's best stuff. I have to ask permission from another guy if I want to just take a family vacation. Like, I don't think I'm meant for this. And so I remember coming home that night and actually sitting my wife down and saying, it's normal to work 5 days a week or 6 days a week and get one or two off. It's normal to work 49 weeks a year and get 3 weeks vacation. It's normal to work until you're 65. I'm not going to be normal and I need you to hop on this with me. And so we really
Right.
radically started changing. My wife, to her credit, I ride or die, I just love her to death, man. She was like, "How can I help? Let's do it. I'd like you home more too." And so we radically changed the way we started viewing money, viewing time, just the way we lived that day, man.
That really resonates with me, honestly, because right now, like I just told you before we hopped on live, right now I got 3-month-old daughters, and right now in my W-2 job, I'm on paternity leave, and I'm just like, dude, I do not want to freaking go back and miss out on such like pivotal and critical moments in their own life. So tying that to what you just said, right? You were working at Chase, you had a very busy schedule with meetings, had 14 employees under you. You make that decision to say, okay, I want to do something differently. What exactly at that moment are you saying you are going to do? Like, is it something completely different as to what you're doing now?
100%, man. So, and this is kind of funny because maybe 4 or 5 months before that day, bro, I was already like, I'm a pretty ambitious guy and a hard worker. And so I was like, okay, I run one branch, but how do I run like 15 branches? And then how do I run, like, be the guy that's, like I wanted to move up the corporate ladder. And
Mm.
I took a branch that was really underperforming. And then in a year and a half, I took us from a performance level 6, which is the absolute last, and you basically don't get a bonus, to like 1 point away from performance level 1, where you're getting like 35K bonuses. And so I got a pretty good bonus anyway. And I had turned this staff around, and so I had got to meet my boss's boss, who I'll never forget. This guy's name was Dave Davidson, and I got to we got to have lunch with them and some of the higher performing managers. And something he said, like, I didn't even think of really at the time, but he's like, I work in New York. He lived in Ohio, and he said, I work in New York. And he had 4 kids, and every Sunday he flew to New York and he flew back home Saturday. And like, he was kind of giving us this pep talk of like, dude, this guy had a vacation home. He probably wore a $4,000 suit. His watch was probably worth as much as my house. Like, he oversaw every branch in the Midwest. If I had to guess, I'd say he was making 4 or 5 million bucks a year, killing it in every metric. And every metric that they would tell a guy, you could kill it. And then I don't know, man. It was something like when my daughter said that to me, and I started to think about, like, what's the point of wealth? Well, it's to like buy the life you want, to buy freedom. And then my wife and I, we did this activity that I just kind of made up. I was like, let's just pretend we had $10 million or all the money we needed. How would we spend our time? And so we
Mm.
called this perfect day. And what we really realized is, like, dude, it didn't really matter to us, like, how fancy our freaking chandelier was in our house. Like, what really mattered to us is like when our daughter was doing something, we could be there for it. Or my wife and I could go on multiple date nights a week and not have to worry if I had to work late. Or, like, just the time was what really made us feel wealthy. And so that's what really radically changed us is like I stopped working Saturdays when I didn't have to. I used to wear this like a badge of honor. I work through my lunch. I don't even take a break. Like, come on. Like, like I was like that guy. I was also 20 pounds overweight at that time. And I said, my company doesn't care about my health. My company doesn't care if I'm a great dad. My company doesn't care about my marriage, so
Right.
I better start to think about some of these things. And so, man, I started taking it on my lunch break every day, just a really easy change. I meal prepped my lunch every single day for $2.12 for organic grilled chicken and a veggie. I ate the
Yeah.
same thing for lunch every day for 6 years. And then I took a 40-minute walk out in the sun. And that was a big change I made. I wasn't like a yes man anymore. And I'll be honest, I was not near as good of a bank manager as I probably could have been those last 4 or 5 years. But dude, I started building on the side every night, like working to build my own thing too, to create freedom in that way. And again, man, we just started making money like a game. Like, hey, when we own this many shares of this stock and it pays you this much quarterly, and if we buy this asset and we get it paid off, then it will pay us this much. And we started looking at money like rich people buy time. So I just want to start doing that. Instead of buying stuff, I want to buy time. And so our whole goal and mission for about 6 or 7 years, man, until we actually, it's funny, we just hit financial freedom 2 months ago to where our
Nice.
passive income now covers all of our expenses. And we just kind of gamified this, man, like 7 years ago. And we're like, we're going to live like nobody else will for 7 years or 10 years, however long it takes. And then we have the rest of our lives to live like nobody can ever tell me where to be or what to wear. Or, I did throw a tank top on for this podcast. I was shirtless right before walking out in the sun. But you know what I mean? Just to have that freedom and that sovereignty over your life. I would do anything legal to get that, is what I told my wife. And we worked our butts off and got it.
Dude, there's a lot of things I want to unpack here, right? So you're in this picture, right? You paint this picture of you're working at Chase, you're making a good amount of money. The bank goes from bonus six level to bonus one level, from my understanding, which means that it's going really well financially. You meet this guy named Dave Davidson, and this piece resonated with me because at one of my first jobs right out of college, I worked in corporate finance at FedEx, and this guy, he was like the CFO of the CFO, right? He was a big time, big deal. And I just remember seeing this guy every day at the office, and I was like, dude, I don't care if this guy is on the Forbes list of Latin America. I wouldn't want to be this guy. Like, it just looks terrible. Like, he has
Yeah.
all the money in the world, but he's just trapped in his office on calls 24/7 on things that for myself at the time I didn't really care too much about. Like, I was just there for the paycheck, right? So in your own life, you look at Dave Davidson, you're just like, dude, I'm not trying to fly from state to state. And then you start to tap in and focus in on the different metrics of like what is the most like perfect day for you with you and your wife. Now, when we talk about like buying time and gamifying this, can you, I guess, articulate a little bit more of how you were able to do this in your own life and at least where you started to how you got it now?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I remember me and my wife sat down with a pen and paper and we said, let's review our last 90 days of expenses. Can we cut our budget, right? Like at the time we were maybe saving 1,000 or 2 a month and we weren't really intentional about it. Just kind of, sock money in a 401k. That's what everybody else does. And kind of like you earn money, you spend it. If you have some left over and you have a little margin, like great. And we said, let's flip that. And so we looked at the past 90 days and we said, where can we cut? And if right away we realized, like, bro, we're paying like $160 a month for cable, Hulu, HBO, and we don't even watch TV. So, like,
Right.
so we just like cut that out. Right. And there was a few other very easy things. We were going out to eat and spending like $1,400 a month ordering food. So we deleted DoorDash. We said, we're going to start meal prepping our own food. This is how I gain the weight anyway. So we're like, let's
Mhm.
get healthy too. Health is real wealth. So the first step was like, let's cut some of these expenses. And then we looked at our monthly budget and we said, every single month, we're going to make a promise to ourselves. The first bill we're going to pay, and this is from like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Some people love that book, some people hate it. But I said, we're going to pay ourselves first. So we essentially opened a brokerage account. And every month our goal was it started lower, but now it's up to like $3,000 a month, right? Where the first 3,000 that comes in, that goes to us. That goes to us. We call them freedom dollars, right? And so in simple stuff, man, I'm not like some savant trader. We own like probably 50% of my portfolio is VOO. Just, like you own the S&P 500, it just pays a little dividend, it just goes up, right? Nothing crazy. But I said every month we're going to put into that. And then it became a game, dude, of like, okay, we have a mortgage. And I started looking at it. I'm like, we pay the bank $1,700 a month in interest. That's before we even make a payment. So then we're like, we're going to chop that off so much. So, bro, me and my wife, like, I honor her so much because I think women get a bad rap in today's day and age of like, oh, they only want money or this or that. Like, bro, I had nothing when me and my wife kind of like got together. And she just hopped on board of like, let's radically change our life. Like, who cares what other people think? She was waking up at 4 in the morning, teaching English to Chinese kids, making 25 bucks an hour. So she'd do that an hour and a half before her day job. I was like a professional poker player in my 20s and had made $1 million playing, didn't keep much of it. But so every night I was staying up and playing poker and grinding. Every Tuesday I would take my day off at the bank strategically. There was 4 Goodwills within driving range, and this sounds insane, but it was half off day at these Goodwills, and we would go around and we'd look at Facebook Marketplace and we'd buy and flip toys. In 1 year, we made like 6K doing this, man. Like just flipping toys and kind of having fun doing it with our daughter. Dude, we every time we ate avocados, we would plant the avocado seeds, and we started selling avocado plants for like $10 and $20. I mean, anything and everything you could think of legally, we started doing. Then I started posting on social media and growing an audience. And when you have an audience, obviously you can, there's other ways to make money that way. But dude, it just started for me where I told her like I was 34 and I was like, I'm not going to work the next 30 years as a bank manager. Like, and so I was like, well, even if we chop it down to 15 years, right? If I've got $1 million in a brokerage, then that buys me 15 years of my life. That's sort of the way we looked at it. And then along the way, we've been fortunate. We found like a really good investment of farmland that we own outright now. And that pays us like about 30 grand a year of just, we rent it to a farmer and it doesn't matter what happens. We just get 3 checks a year. And so there's been some good investments that some people have helped us with along the way. But most of it is super boring. And it was just one decision of like 99% of humans live this way. We're just going to live this way for like 6 or 7 years and not eat out much and take like our vacations, man. We just took a family vacation. I'll just be honest again, we're financially free. So I don't really need to worry about this stuff anymore. But our family vacation was 4 days. We drove to Big Bear Mountain. We rented a cheap Airbnb. We took our own food. 4 days with our kids in a national park. It cost like $770 or something, like that was a family vacation. So we just decided to live a little bit different. But again, man, like it's nothing for us to just scoop up our kids on a Tuesday and be like, yeah, we're just going to go here. We're going to do this. Or like I volunteer at my kids' schools and I'm around for everything. I'm see my kids hours and hours a day and play with them. And that was wealth to me. Now, brother, if you come into my home, you'll be like, how long you live there? And I'll be like 7 years. And you'll be like, and it's a nice home in a nice neighborhood, but like we built our kitchen table for $20. We got an old one for free and restored it for $20. Our couch we got off Facebook Marketplace for like $200, dude. Like we just don't. People are always like, "Oh, did you just move in?" We're like, no, we just don't have a lot of stuff anymore. We just like that. You ever seen the movie Fight Club with Brad Pitt?
I've
He's
heard
like,
of it. I still need to watch it.
bro, cult classic. You got to watch it. It's a good movie. But he says this thing: the stuff you owns ends up owning you. And
Mm.
I don't know, man. That always stuck with me. Of like, in my 20s, I made back-to-back years of over $300,000 when I was like 21 and 22 playing online poker. I was really good at it. And I bought myself a brand new Mercedes. I bought myself a $10,000 watch. I travel. I did all this. And like this, it was never enough. And I bought zero assets with that money. So I had to stay on that like sort of hamster wheel. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, how do you
Yeah.
get off the hamster wheel? You own assets that pay you while you sleep. And so that just became our primary focus, man. Buy assets that pay us while we sleep.
Dude, there's a lot to unpack here, and I love this because it's so real in terms of just, like, all the things that you just told me right now aren't sexy at all,
No.
but I know fundamentally that they do work, right? Like, the cutting the expenses of DoorDash, I've seen that for sure in times where, me and my wife might spend a little bit too much on that. It's, like, our number 1 expense. You talked about Rich Dad Poor Dad and pouring your money first into yourself, and you talked about VOO. That's something that I do as well. Like, I don't really like to pinpoint any stock. I just put majority of it
Yeah,
in like a S&P 500 ETF, and it's done well for the
great.
past decade. Now, this piece is interesting here about the poker, right? Like, this is you kind of like put through this in there, but this is a huge detail.
Yeah.
You said at 21 and 22, you made hundreds of thousands of dollars playing poker. you have to tap into this a little bit more. How did you get started in
Yeah,
poker?
this
What's
is
going on here?
yeah,
Yeah.
this was wild, man. So I grew up like I would just say very like awesome parents, dude. My parents were great. My dad coached me at all the sports, but we like, didn't have a lot of money, right? Like we were middle class, but they're probably hanging on by a thread by middle class, you know. And so, dude, I go to college and I deposit $60 into this online poker site called pokerstars. And I just kind of realized right away, like I got a knack for this, man. And so I double that money in a couple weeks, and then I use part of that $60 to go buy a few poker books, and then I memorize. I'm pretty like when I get into something, I get into something. And so, dude, I memorize every statistic, everything that you could ever imagine about poker. I run this up to about $1,000, and then I paid one of the like highest winning players in the game at that time $500 when I was like 20 years old to teach me 2 hours how to play. How like just hey, run me through your thought process. Like you beat some of the bigger games online. He's this guy's making hundreds of thousands a year. So I'm like, I'll pay you. I don't even think coaching was like a thing, but it just like intuitively to me, I'm like, well, he knows things I don't. Can I incentivize him to teach me? So I remember sending him $500. All my college friends are like, "You're such a moron, dude! Like $500, you can drink for all year for that. Like, what are you doing?" You know? And I was like, I got a plan, right? And so I spend 2 hours with this guy, and he just unlocks so many things in my brain. So then I just basically get addicted to poker. I had a like a 3.8 GPA my freshman year before poker, my sophomore year, dude, I think when I finally just quit college, I had like a 1.4 GPA. I just played poker nonstop, man. But I'll never forget I had a month where I made like $35,000. I was like 20. And I remember just calling my parents and I'm like, look, I'm trying to be a PE teacher. PE teachers make $35,000 a year. I just made that in like 27 days of playing poker. Like I'm dropping out of school, you know? So I had the part right, I think, about I hit this market at a really good time where online poker was popping. I was really good. I had a passion for it. But dude, I had no idea how to keep money. And the more money that I made, dude, the more that went out. And I got really into like the party, the nightlife lifestyle. I liked the status of like this kid's 21 and he's like pretty rich and he's hanging around these like he's got a table next to these sort of celebrity people at these nightclubs with these famous DJs. And I got real into this, man. And so by the time I was like 28 years old, internet poker became illegal when I was 28. But from 20 to 28, dude, I made $1.5 million playing online poker. The crazy thing is, and I like this is all verifiable. I paid taxes on it, right? So
Right.
at the end of that, we'll say I made 1.5, 1.6 million. You pay taxes, so I should have had a million. Bro, I had less than 100K. Like I could never keep money, and I was obsessed with looking like I had money, but I never had any, and I didn't own any assets. I didn't own anything. And so, I learned that lesson the hard way, and that's why I always feel sorry for like a lot of athletes that make $20 million. Then they're like, how do you blow through $20 million? Well, dude, I blew through 1.5 million, like, just doing dumb stuff. And so when I sat my wife down and kind of had this, okay, we're making decent money together. What does this look like different from everybody else? Because I did it just like everybody else told me the first time. Oh, dude, you got to buy a brand new Benz. Oh, dude, you got to buy like this watch, and like that stuff is so. I bought a Benz for 60 grand and sold it 5 years later for six. And I just remember being like, bro, it's like I've done the math now. If I had just bought the S&P 500 back then and done nothing, that would be worth like seven figures now. Like it's just so dumb. And so I don't know, man. I just decided again, we're going to radically change the way that we view money. And instead of buying stuff with money, we get money, we buy assets. Those assets eventually over time will buy us time. And that's just the complete way I looked at it. Now, my parents were not pumped when I said, hey, I'm dropping out of school. I lived out here and I lived in Vegas for like 7 or 8 weeks with my buddy Dave while we were playing poker professionally. We got some fun, crazy stories. Really fun thing to do in your 20s. Probably not a great thing to do when you're, like I'm coming up on 43 with kids. So it's, I still play a decent amount. It's like a decent side hustle. And I've definitely made really good money from it even since then. That now, again, is just bought time, not stuff.
Right. Dude, there's a couple things here that it's interesting, right? Because for a kid that's 20 years old making that much money, I could only imagine like your thought process of thinking, dude, I figured life out. Like I could do this forever. I'm gonna be balling, right? Like that's generally how I would see it. Cause
Exactly
I
right.
had I have a similar example, but just way smaller numbers. When I was like 19, I had a drop shipping store, and this is gonna sound hilarious to you, but at one point, at one day, I made like $400 like passively. Like the machine was flowing, and I thought, oh my god, I figured everything out. I'm good. Like I don't need school. All that's cool, right? So you talk about this piece, right? About Fight Club, that quote previously about like the stuff. Don't buy stuff because it'll end up owning you. Something along those lines. Let's say someone's listening to this right now, they're in this like treadmill of a machine where their lifestyle is pretty much has them stuck and chained to this
Man.
job. In 2026, what is something that you would tell someone to do to figure it out versus, we've figured out the expense piece, the investing piece. I guess more so from a cash flow perspective of bringing money in. Is there anything you would tell people right now?
Yeah, I think 2 things. The first thing I'd say is that somebody who feels like I'm on this rat race, I always say to people, just be honest with yourself because it's totally okay, man. Like I knew bank
Mhm.
managers that were also just very happy doing that and they like really were okay with that. And so if you're in that, don't like let anybody make you feel guilty for it or you don't
Right.
need to retire at 40 or if you like what you do, that's awesome. I didn't, and I didn't want that life. So I think the first step is like be really honest with yourself and like I just had to ask myself, is again, is having a $20,000 chandelier or a $200 fake chandelier, like, does that really affect my life happiness at all day to day? Or does being able to wake up when I want and go to the gym when I want and be around my kids when I want, does that affect, like, you just be honest with yourself on what you really want out of life. And then, man, dude, this is just such a cheat code. The second part of your question there is what can you do? Everything, man. Twitter is free, X is free, YouTube is free. The library is free. My wife and I, like, again, we don't have TV for like 7 years now. So we both got kind of obsessed with learning. And like we would learn things together and we tried things together. And bro, I've tried 50 things that didn't work, but that's just like how you keep going. And when you kind of look at life like that, like a game, like, okay, we're just at this level, maybe financially or freedom. How do we get to the next level? How do we get to the next level? You just try things, man. And like what interests you? So as I started building an audience, I just asked myself that question, like, what would I do for free? And I'm like, I love helping people. The one part of being a bank manager I loved, like, I'm real proud of this, man. I had a guy come in and he lost 45 pounds while he worked for me for 18 months because I got him meal prepping and I got him walking on his lunch break. And like, just we talk business ideas. I'm so proud of this too, man. 5 or 6 years after I left, he texted me and said, dude, I went down to part time in his 40s. He had saved enough money, had enough passive income, had a side hustles. And he's like, I only work 20 hours a week now instead of 45. There's endless ways to do it. But the problem with 2026, there's all these endless resources you can learn. Dude, there's endless distractions. There's just bro, there's constant notifications, sports 24/7, news 24/7, politics, and like there's endless things that you can watch and consume. And so the mindset that I flipped for me and my wife was we're going to be creators, not consumers. And so, man, I've got hundreds of thousands of people that follow me on Twitter now and on X and YouTube and some of these various platforms. And people are like shocked, like, you must spend all day on there. And I'm like, no, man, like I create on there. And then I, engage with my communities and things like that. But I'm offline way more than I'm online, like that's the goal. And I see these people that tell me, I would have told you at 34, dude, or 33, you know what, Gabriel, I don't have time, man. I work a 45-hour a week job. Like I still got responsibilities at home. Like I don't have time. Bro, I watched Game of Thrones all the way through twice. Like I watched every NBA game, every NFL game. Like, so everybody has time. It's just, again, be really honest with yourself. And I asked myself the question at 34 years old when I sat down that night with my wife. I said, is it more important for me to watch other guys be great at sports or for me to be great myself? Is it more important for me to be financially free and create the life I want or to mindlessly be entertained and kind of scroll social media and just kind of zone out? Like just be honest with yourself. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like not everybody is going to want to be in the top, percentile of what it's okay if you're like, dude, I just kind of like chilling, like at this season of
Right.
my life. It's okay. I'm not talking to you. But I think somebody that's going to watch this back is like, bro, I don't want to be normal. Like normal just didn't seem like a good deal for me. Like you have to work 40 some years to hopefully be healthy in your like 60s to then get some time to do what you want to do. Like that just seemed like a huge scam to me. And so I don't know, just start creating. What do you love to do? Like I wrote 3 early ebooks as I started building an audience, one was called How I Made $1.7 million playing poker. I love talking about poker. So I just wrote a book about it and shared everything I knew and sold the book for like 25 bucks and made thousands of dollars doing that. Another one was like, okay, I love being a dad. So I wrote Maximizing Parenthood. Here's like 7 ways that me and my wife are really intentional about getting the most out of parenthood. Another one, I got really in shape when I was at a 9 to 5. So I wrote 9 to 5 Fitness, how you can lose weight and get shredded even if you're working a corporate job. So I took topics that I really enjoyed, and I'm like, even if nobody buys these things, I'm learning as I create. It's making me better. I enjoy these things I'm doing, and again, then if people buy them and you monetize them, that's just kind of a bonus, right? But do things you like to do that could produce money. I've made all my hobbies like that. Like I used to golf a lot, and I'd pay $80 to go play 18 holes of golf and pay for clubs and that. And I'm like, that's 4.5 hours I could be building things that that I still enjoy. And so we've kind of just tailored our whole lives around that, to be honest.
So there's a couple things I want to unpack there. A lot of gems that you just threw at me here. And the first one I think is what's true about like sometimes entrepreneurship or trying to do your own thing gets on Instagram like this rep of, you want to drive a Ferrari or like it's like the cool thing to do, right? But like you said, there's truly nothing wrong with working a normal job if you have a passion for it, if it's something that you love, the balance of it and everything combined with it, there's absolutely zero wrong with that. So I agree with you there. Now, the second piece that's important too that you tapped into as well, that you talk about how you don't have a TV in your house. Like for the last 7 years, you haven't had any TV. I read earlier in the morning this piece on a book that says that 25% of our energy is consumed from the energy we use with our brain, meaning like the things like we consume.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of our time. And this is something that I've definitely struggled with in terms of the equation that you put out of the creator over consumer, because earlier on, and still to this day, which I'm trying to get better at, I would justify going on social media in my mind saying, "Oh, I'm working, I'm building," and then it's like 2 weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago, I had this realization where I'm just like, "Dude, I'm going on Instagram to post, but, like, I'm not even getting any benefit here, or, like, I feel like I'm just doing it for the vanity metrics and things of that sort." So I really kind of made the decision to say, "Alright, I just wanna focus on X platform and YouTube and
Mhm.
eliminate all the other stuff." And I'm not saying Instagram is bad or good, for some people it
Yeah.
could be great, but for my own life, I was like, "Dude, I'm just doing this just to get people from high school to think, 'Look how cool this guy is,'" right? So I really had to make that decision to get real with myself, understanding, okay, like what are the things that are actually providing value in my own life? Now, this piece here, you said this piece resonated with me as well, right? Like you spent a lot of time watching Game of Thrones, obviously a very good show. You spent a lot of time watching sports, and you said, like, why not put that time into myself to be great? And you monetize this in the form of ebooks. I think for people watching this, they're going to ask, how are you able to get people to buy your products, right? Like, do you first have to build an audience, or do you think people procrastinate in just building an audience and not focusing on product? Like, what's some game you could put me on right now with that?
Yeah, I definitely think like you probably need an audience, and I'm sure you probably could go the exact opposite route and like hire somebody who's great at like SEO or knows how to work back end channels of Gumroad or where you can post like it. For me, it cost me $0 to write those books and publish them on Gumroad. So it was kind of like a free roll, man. I got to get my thoughts out. I got to create. I got to put some reps in. And then if people bought them, awesome. And then as I've built platforms, cool. It's been very easy to sell. If a tweet goes viral, plug it under there.
Hmm.
What do you know? People buy them. But I think like step one, and this is something I hired a mentor, and I'm always really big into this, man. Hire people and pay for knowledge. Like the same thing I did with that poker guy. He's here. I'm here. How do I bridge that? He's got the knowledge. When I started growing on social media, I hired a guy named Zach Hommel who had at the time 50,000 followers. I had 50, you know? And so again, he helped me bridge that gap. So hiring mentors has been just an absolute cheat code for everything I've ever done. I think that's a big step. But I'll just say this too. You're going to have to throw some darts that probably just don't hit. That's part of it. I joke around a lot, man. The first business I started was what was it called? Avalon Fitness. And I had 10,000 followers on Twitter, X, and I partnered with 4 other coaches. And dude, I kid you not, for 8 months, we built out this vlog website and we had this subscription model where people would pay 20 bucks a month and we'd like critique their form. And I'd write 3 or 4 articles every week on health and fitness. And bro, after 8 months of doing this every single day, hustling for hours a day at my 9 to 5, and I think we made $231 each. You know, like that's 8 months, you know? And so, most people would just like give up there. I kind of looked at that like, at the time I wasn't a very good writer. What that did is I was writing 2 and 3 articles every week to put up there and editing those and doing those. Well, bro, the only reason I've gained hundreds of thousands of followers is that made me a great writer. That gave me the consistency. So that was a stepping block to the next thing. I just got paid 6 figures to write my first book by a
Let's
huge
go.
Christian publishing company, man. And bro, I got rejected by the first 60 publishers. I wrote the book. It took me 11 months of writing. I pitched it to 60 of them, dude. And they told me, you're not good enough. You're not big enough. And each time it was like other people would quit. And I'm just like, no, man, that's just like part of it. Like you just keep getting back up. And so I think the problem with a lot of people today, and I don't want this to sound harsh, but
Yeah.
they give it the old college try, man. They give it the old, like, well, if I feel like it and if everything works out, then cool. And I just had a different mindset. And I was like this with poker when I was like 19 and learning. I'm like, I'm going to be great, whatever that costs me. So, like, dude, all my friends were like going out to bars a lot and stuff at the beginning. Dude, I was locked in my room studying and memorizing percentages. That's just like what it took to be great at poker. With this, it was kind of no different. It was like I already know the outcome and I'm willing to do anything legally or morally to get there. So like if I have to fail 50 times, that's okay. I kind of looked the same thing on YouTube. I remember 221 videos I made on YouTube, and you know how long it takes to make YouTube videos and edit, do all the things. I think I had like 6,000 subs, man, and like they had made no money. And then, bro, the 222nd got like 32 million views. It was just some random short that, man, it made that thousands and thousands of dollars. It got me 50,000 subs. Like, so, but most people just quit way before video 222. Most people quit way before that publisher number 60. Most people quit way before, like on X, 5 months in, I had 460 followers. That's every day. I tweeted a minimum of 3 times. I put up a couple videos a week, a couple threads a week. I engaged with other big creators for 15, 20 minutes every single day. Like I had these systems. And after 5 months, like I had nothing. And most people quit. And I was like, well, if it takes me 10 years to get 50,000 followers, that's what I'm going to do. Like I'll pivot and maybe change my approach a little bit. But I've always had this feeling you just kind of can't lose unless you quit. And time's going to keep going anyway. So it's like, why not always be building that life I want and always be like sort of going towards that? So anybody who's like, well, where do I start? Hire a mentor. And then one hack that's probably helped me more than any other, man, and I do this every week. It's so simple, but I write down 12 to 15 things I'm going to accomplish every Sunday. And before next Sunday comes, those things are accomplished. And like, I don't care how small the things are. At the beginning, it was like, research 3 accounts on Twitter that are kind of in your niche and take some notes on what you can apply. Create a Twitter banner, but dude, if you do 15 things a week, that's 60 a month. So that's what, 720 things a year you're going to accomplish towards your side hustle, your business. I don't care how little they are. You do that for 5 years. You've moved forward 3,500 times. It's like impossible to not be successful. And so that's sort of the way I looked at it. Is it doesn't matter if we're crawling some days or we're sprinting other days. We're always going to keep moving forward, whether we feel like it or not. And man, again, you fail a bunch, you learn, you pivot, you keep going. And, I look back 6, 7 years later, I can't believe we're in the spot I'm in. I mean, I hoped to have a few thousand, like 10,000 followers was huge to me when I started. And like, if I could make a few $1,000s a year as just a side income, that would have been awesome. Now I have clients pay me a few $1,000s a month for one-on-one coaching, right? And so I had no idea how big it could go. And I cringe sometimes and think about there's a version of me somewhere in the simulation that's still watching Game of Thrones and hasn't done all the things that I've got to do. And I don't want to get to the end of my life, man, and just be like, well, I wonder what if. I wonder what if. Like, I want to go 1,000 miles an hour and try and create the exact life that I want. And the worst thing that can happen is I come up a little short, but I still got way farther than I would have not trying.
That really resonated with me, man. And just like the concept of just like the volume, the sheer volume of getting the results that you want. Even in an example in my own life, like I've seen, and I started making content, it was 2021 on TikTok because I saw Gary Vee talk about it. And I was like, you know what, dude, let me just try to build my personal brand on the side. And like I ate shit. Like I did not make any money with it. I made $0 and 0 cents my first year posting every day. The second year I made like $300. The third year I made 17,000.
Boom.
And then like one lesson as well is just like with the email letter, I sent out an article every week on Substack. Literally yesterday, like not even like just yesterday, one of my articles hit 90,000 impressions. And that's like more views than what I've done in the first 5 years of anything I've done, like anything. So it's just like a testament to just like if you stay the course, eventually something will come your way. And I've seen in my own life when people like I've had a friend that he wanted to start a podcast and he did like 2 episodes, and then a month later he like texted me saying like he wasn't going to do it anymore. And I was just like, dude, that's crazy. Like that's crazy. Like you have to be able to just like I call it eat shit for a very long time. And I feel like it's testament, like I'm nowhere near where I guess I want to be, but I've seen a lot of good things happen this year with the podcast, having amazing people like yourself tune in. Like for me, it's crazy, dude. It's absolutely insane. Now, the second piece, right, which is super important, you talk about hiring mentors. And I think like for myself, I'm always just curious, how do you know like who to hire or like how to find the right person in your own life?
Yeah, number one, man, I get fired up when I hear you say that, like, you hit 90,000 like that. I
Mm,
just love watching other people create their thing and do what they want to
yeah,
do. And I've never understood that of like, again, I would just tell your buddy, just be honest with yourself and actually be content that you're okay staying where you're at. And that's okay.
yeah,
But don't say you want to have a big podcast and I want to do this or I want to fire my
right,
job. No, you don't. Because if you did, you would do the work, you know?
right.
So you got to be like kind of just real with yourself, I think, but so that second part again, what was the question?
In terms of just like hiring the
Oh,
right
hiring. Okay.
person, how do you find that individual in your own life?
Yeah, man, mine came through like I'm I'm called like the most positive guy on Twitter. So that's like kind of my label and my brand. I'm just very optimistic guy. You can do anything that you're willing to work for. That's what I believe. That's what I teach my kids. It's what I teach everybody. And so, being kind of putting off that kind of energy is going to affect some of that same kind of energy back. I always kind of have a saying that life is sort of like a mirror. The
Mhm.
people that tell me all the time I'm miserable, I'm depressed, life sucks. I'm like, well, life's a mirror, man. What are you consuming? What are you putting out there? You're negative. Like if you're it's very rare that like you walk outside and you're kind to people and people are not kind back. It's just life has
Right.
this way of kind of reflecting back the energy you put. And so I've been real intentional with the way that I use my social media and put myself out there. And honestly, dude, the biggest cheat code for business and for hiring mentors and stuff for me is people just kind of like me. I root for everybody, man. Like I don't know. I've never felt the need to compete. Like even when you're like, man, I want to crush Substack and I'm like, dude, I hope you have 9 billion. So, like I hope
Yeah.
you, and if I can ever help in any way, I will. I always tend to help out anybody I can for free, even if I don't feel like I can get anything back. Giving a lot, man. I have a rule online where I give 20 times before I ever ask for one. So I'm going to give you 20 great actionable pieces of content that I think can help you. And then I might ask you to subscribe to me or might ask you to check out my ebook or might ask you for something, right? But I'm going to go 20 to 1. And so, easy example, I'd say a guy that's a mentor of mine. And this is a cool story because we're actually running a men's retreat together in 3 days, man. So, are you familiar with Zuby?
No, no, not
So look him up after this. You'll be
okay.
happy you did. He's got like millions of followers across social media, runs an awesome, huge podcast, and just a great guy, man. To be honest, he started out as a rapper, and now he's just like he's been on Joe Rogan a few times. He's really gone huge. But so at the time, this guy has we'll say 500,000 followers, and I've got like 15. And I'm every day on X, man. I'm grinding. I'm doing my thing. I'm building. And I set alerts on his tweets because number one, man, he talks about mindset and a lot of things I like, and so I'm learning from him. But I also want to like say thank you. And so he would tweet something, and I'd be like, man, I'm gonna apply that. Thank you, bro. And then I'd like let him know, like, dude, I applied this and my life is better. Like, thank you, you know? And so one day after doing this for a couple months, he follows me back on X and he didn't follow a lot of people. And so, dude, I shot him a DM later that morning And it was like a 10-second video. And I said, if you never answer this, I get it. You got 500,000 followers just on this platform. But dude, I just want to say thank you. Like, you've literally changed my life. He's the reason I quit watching the news. I deleted news apps off my phone. A big reason I started doing a lot of things I did. I said, would it be okay if I bought 10 of your books today and did a giveaway on X just as a thank you for you following me? Well, bro, who's gonna say no to, like, yeah, can I spend $300 on your products? So
Hmm.
he's like, absolutely, man. That's so cool of you. So I bought 10 of his books. I did a quick little thing on X where I said, Zuby has changed my life. I think he can change yours too. I'm gonna give away 10 books. Well, of course, he retweets it to all his followers. So I gain a lot of followers but again, I'm giving. I didn't just message a guy like Zuby and say, hey man, will you retweet me? Hey man, will you, like, he doesn't owe me anything. So it's like, how can I give? Now, dude, you fast forward to 6 years later, and him and I are about to run our second mastermind men's retreat together. We've got 18 guys from all over the world flying to Vegas this Thursday, where we're going to host this event in this huge mansion, and we got a chef out here, and it's going to be awesome, and it's real cool. But that never happens unless, like, I have that spirit of, how can I make your day, man? How can I give more to you? Can I buy 10 of your books and give them away? Can I, like, and dude, before that, even I had bought 3 or 4 pairs of Zuby gear just to support him. And I bought my son a Zuby hat, and I'd tag him and say, dude, my boy loves your hat. Now my friends call him Uncle Zuby now, and my boys call him Uncle Zuby now, like, so I think it's like, if you see a creator that's actually, maybe you put out a Substack article on something and that helps me, bro, somebody should just shoot you a thank you so much, man. That means a lot. How can I support you? And then human nature? Well, what do you want to do? You want to help them even more, So it's this, like, I think unless you're at the very top levels, like trying to be the president of the United States, or like, the first to create the AI breakthrough or something, you're not really competing ever. Like, this is a huge space and we can all help each other. And that's been a huge thing. So Zuby was an early mentor of mine. Zach Hommel was an early mentor of mine. The same way, man. I shot him a message and said, bro, I hope I pray for you every day. The things that you have said have impacted my life so much. I bought every ebook he had. I bought swag that he had. I just wanted to support him in any way. And one day he just said, hey, bro, I would love to help you. Can we make something that works for both of us? And I tell him all the time, I robbed him. He charged me $1,500 for like 6 months of coaching. And like, that's when I went from like 50 followers to like 15,000, and like learned how to run a business. Like, he taught me so much, man. And that was just because I was willing to give a lot first.
Dude, I think that right there is the biggest cheat code of them all that you just gave me. And I think it's important. And I feel like most people look at life from like a very zero sum lens where it's like, if I win, someone has to lose, or if someone wins, then they have to be taking from me. And like, your perspective is just massive of just like, even the smallest gestures, right? Like, this guy didn't need $300 of book sales, but the fact that you reached out to him and said you were going to give it away and promote it, I think it spoke volumes to like your work ethic, your character. Cause I feel like a lot of people don't even think about doing those things because they think, oh, why does this
Mhm.
guy need a small promotion? Like, I only have such a small following. So it's like, you putting yourself out there consistently, I think is the recipe for success. And trying to apply it to my own life. I think the first big podcast guest I got with Anthony Pompliano,
Right
and
on.
the way he was able to come on the show was because I sent him first and foremost, sent him DMs for like 2 years, but the one that hit was on Substack. There was a recommendation feature, and I showed him I was able to drive 100 subscribers from my letter to his, and that
Wow.
was the thing that hit. And again, like, maybe 100 subscribers for him is just a little drop in the bucket, but I think people want to see that you're willing to provide them value and not just take and take. So that little
Absolutely.
equation you gave of 20 to 1, I think if people actually apply that, their life would fundamentally be different. I want to leave off on this one, Tyler. You talk about faith and family a lot, and you talk about positive energy. How big is faith in your own life? Is that like the ultimate pillar to funnel into the positive energy? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Man, we're business guys. I can tell because you're like funnel. You got is that the funnel? Yeah. But yeah, I would say it's the foundation for me for sure, man. I want everything to build up from that. And so, I faith is so personal, and I don't like to preach at people. One of my favorite pastors said, "Speak the gospel every day and use words when you have to." And so my goal is always to just live a really good life and to exude a lot of kindness and the fruits of the spirit and joy and generosity and all the things that I get to do. But I kind of just have a really basic philosophy on it, man. I believe in God. I've done a lot of research on it. In my 20s, I did not. I thought we're kind of here by accident, or it's random, or I just don't even want to think about it. Maybe I'm agnostic. I just kind of want to do what I want to do. But man, I put a lot of research into what's more likely, that there's a creator and a designer of this world that we're in, or that it's all random. And to me, it's really obvious once you start looking into it and just logical. This had to start from something. So I acknowledge that there's a God. That God is not me. And so I have a lot of gratitude for being here and a lot of gratitude for that I get to do this. And then I do feel like, man, the older I've gotten, the more I see the wisdom in the Bible. And again, if you'd asked me this 10 years ago, I'd have been like, man, it really stinks. You kind of have to follow God's rules. Like I'd love to like go sleep with 50 different women that are not my wife, you know, like that's just like my
Yeah.
nature. Right. And,
Right.
but it's like, man, I actually see the wisdom in God's design now that like, man, when it's just me and my wife, and that's the only person that shares this thing, and we build this life together and we get to, raise this family, that's so much better than the emptiness that the world might promise. And so I see God's wisdom in everything I do. And the older I get, the deeper my faith gets. I start every day with just reading a chapter of the Bible, doing a little devotional, writing a little gratitude, and just thanking God for the gift of today. It's never promised tomorrow. And so it's definitely the foundation of my life. Yeah. Like we go to church every week and I want to grow in that. Again, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to sit here and this is unpopular in some Christian circles, but I don't know that I have all the answers to everything. I don't. I try and follow the Bible. I try and follow what God says. I'm very imperfect all the time at it. Somebody will be watching this and say like, this guy's arrogant. This guy, I get this stuff. So it's, God lives inside me. I truly believe that. I feel like I've had moments where the Holy Spirit, it's a very intuition type thing. I even feel like that's helped a lot with business. Believe this or not, but 6.5 years ago, I sat down and I wrote out God's vision for my life. When I first started creating on Twitter, I hated social media before that. I felt this tug. You've lived an interesting life with poker and the travel, and that you should share. And I wrote, I'm going to create 5 online courses. I'm going to help a lot of people. And I'm going to write a book then that impacts 1 million people. I wrote that down. 2 weeks after my 5th online course, I'd kind of forgotten about this. A guy named Josh Shipp, who's a Harvard writing instructor and published dozens of books himself, DMs me out of the blue on X and says, I don't know, man, I'm feeling this tug from God. We're supposed to get you a book together, man. Can I help you? Can I coach you? Can I, like, I'll just kind of do it. Like I'm a writing agent. I'd love to help you. That's not like a unique story in my life, where when I'm kind of walking, when I'm in the right path and trying to submit to God and do what I'm supposed to, he kind of lays out the plan. And then it's just my job every day. I like to say, like, pray hard and work harder for what you pray for. I'm not a big fan of the Christians that are like, oh God, like help me lose weight. It's like, bro, you're in control of what you eat. You're in control if you take a walk. Like you can pray and you can ask him, but you need to move your feet too. And so, yeah, my faith, I'm a big, like, James is my favorite book of the Bible. Like, action. Let's go do it.
Yeah. Dude, that was beautiful, man. I really think that probably the best ending for this conversation. Like, just dude, thank you for that. Tyler, talk a little bit about where people can find you. Feel free to
Yeah.
plug yourself in.
Yeah, for sure. On X, man. I'm on X every single day. I have not missed a day of tweeting in 6.5, 7 years. I'm real proud of the fact I don't have any VAs. I do everything myself. If there's any DMs, it's coming from me. Any comments, replies, it's always coming from me. I enjoy it, so I do it a couple, hour or so a day. So at Ty Romper is on X. Shoot me a DM, give me a follow, say what's up. YouTube, just my name, Tyler Todt, Todt. And LinkedIn, I've got 25,000 or so over there now too. Just same thing, Tyler Todt. But yeah, just connect, say what's up, man. I'm always happy to have conversations and chat with people.
Amazing, man. Well, this was an absolute banger. There's so many different gems here to unpack that I'm gonna have to listen to this again to honestly digest everything. But truly, if someone watches this, if they implement what you talked about, their life will be better fundamentally. I know it for sure. All right.
Well, bro, I'm going to say
Well,
this too, Gabriel.
yeah.
I've coached hundreds of guys now over the last five-ish years, and I can usually pick up within a couple minutes energy and just where guys are going. And bro, I would bet my whole farm and everything I have on you being successful, because
Thank you,
you're the
man.
kind of guy I can tell in your mindset right now. You're picking up things, you're taking notes. This is what I'm going to do. This is what,
Yeah.
you don't accept how life is. I think there's two kinds of men. They sit in the passenger seat and hope things go well. And if my boss is nice to me, I'll have a good day. And if they're not, I won't. And there's other guys that are like, no, I'm going to drive. I'm gonna get to where I
Yeah.
want to go, and the game doesn't stop till I do. And it's pretty clear which guy you are, man. So it's an honor to connect, man, and I look forward to watching your journey, brother.
Thank you, man. That's super humbling, man. That's insane. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, I really just try my best to put the most positive mindset into all of this. Been trying to make on money online for probably already 10 years, and so to be honest, I haven't had much success, but I really just told myself like I don't care if it takes me till I'm 95 years old and my AI ChatGPT version of myself continues on and builds it. Then I'm gonna do forth in that. And I guess I'll end it with this last piece. I think it was like Picasso that this guy he was passionate about art and he worked on this every single day and he didn't see his success. He was only successful after he died. So it was always that thing of like, dude, I could keep going, and even if it doesn't work out, I still went and took the steps forward to that. So
Yeah, you grow, you
that's
learn.
kind of the mindset. Yeah,
That's
man.
awesome, man. I love that. And
Yeah.
one thing I just had my daughter, she's about to turn 11. I had her look at Mr. Beast, a couple things he said, and it's so fascinating. He worked 14 hours, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube for years before he
Mhm.
ever had anything, right? And again, everybody else quits, but I saw in an interview where he's like, it doesn't stop until I'm the number one most viewed guy on YouTube. That was what I was going to do. Didn't matter if it took me 15, 20, 50 years, like that's what I was gonna do, you know? And I think you just have that mindset, burn the bridges.
Mhm.
You know, every guy watching this will know in there. When I close my eyes, I have this kind of body, this kind of bank account. I work on this stuff. I'm not passive in these areas. Go be the best version of yourself. Like the only one that can stop you is you. And so it's, you get to decide how you use every minute of every day. We all have the same minutes of every day. Get to work. Create the life you want. Nobody can stop you.
I love that, man. Well, I'm gonna pause this and run straight through a wall to get to my goals after hearing that. But I appreciate you for your time, man, and we'll
Thank you,
talk
brother.
soon, man. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, man.